And we are live. Welcome to the Dawgs Table. I'm your host, Craig Fountain, here with my co-host, Ryan Angelo. How you doing today, Ryan?
What's up, buddy? Happy belated 4th of July, everybody.
Oh, man. Happy Independence Day to every one of you out there. We are going to be talking Browns tonight. We are a Cleveland Browns roundtable discussion show. If this is your first time joining, welcome. Welcome to the show. We go live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. We are brought to you by Labatt Blue Light and Remax Edge Realty, the JC Group. We are part of Team Big Play. You can find us everywhere Big Play is found. And Justin wants to know, is that intro new? Thanks for joining the show, Justin. Appreciate you joining. Norman, good evening. Craig, howdy. Thanks for joining, guys. To answer your question, Justin, that was actually the original episode dating back into the 2020, year of 2020, when the show first started. That was the intro. And then we moved on to a lengthier intro. We had a voiceover, and then we switched up the lineup here on the show, and kind of made the last one irrelevant. So we're working on the updated intro to include our fabulous co-host Ryan. Ryan, looking good in your Dawgs Table hat tonight. Pretty sweet looking hat. We are going to be opening up an order for hats probably within the next few weeks. So if you need to set aside $25-$30, we'll place an order all at once. And yeah, Justin, I started this November or December of 2020, I believe. We were into the COVID pandemic. This started off as a quarantine project, and I did that while I was off work, and ultimately did a career change, and it's caught on. This was a hobby. We picked up Labatt Blue Light, Remax Edge Realty, joined Big Play. The show has grown. It's been exciting, and we appreciate all of you, like Justin, that have been there from the beginning. Norman, those hats do look nice. They're pretty sharp, and yeah, they're pretty great. So we will let you all know when they're up for order. We already have a special guest down in the dog pen, which we will get to shortly. Ryan, how was your Independence Day weekend? Got all your fingers?
Yes, I got all my fingers. I almost lost a face, though. I was trying to impress some guests by doing a fireworks show in the front driveway area, street, and my buddy my son had some of his friends over, and their parents were here, and I had a couple different 21 shot things pushed together on the same platform, and one of them happened to go haywire on me, and it flipped sideways and shot one straight at my face, blew up about 5 feet in front of me. I don't know how I still have a beautiful face, but I do. So yeah, but you're not really playing with fireworks unless you have something crazy like that happen. So here we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm surprised I've been to your neighborhood. I'm surprised they let you set off fireworks there. Ryan's living large. That's a nice neighborhood over there. All right, Skylar, thanks for joining the show. Skylar is a dawgstable.com contributor. And Ryan, I want to say congratulations. You got your official invite today to join me in the Scott Fishbowl Fantasy Football League. It's a large fantasy football league for charity. It is invite only. So congratulations on getting your invite. I'm going to bring Barry in. Barry, I'm going to put you on the spot. Did you get an invite yet? We're crossing our fingers.
I'm looking right now, and I don't see anything.
Not seeing it.
Look at the spam. Look at the
spam. Justin did 15 miles on the 4th. That's a lot of exercise for a holiday. But Barry and I spent the weekend at the campground, raising hell, praising Dale, as they like to say. We did our best. We lived our best hillbilly lives for the weekend. So nice. Lots of drinking beer, playing cornhole, shenanigans. We had a blast.
Nice.
But all right, not a lot of Browns news going on lately. We have some Deshaun Watson updates as we go along in the show. As always, guys, in the comments, We can display and interact with your comments if you're on YouTube or Facebook. You can ask us questions, bring up topics. We'll be happy to talk with you about them. Also, this show is not just for myself and Ryan to talk. Barry comes on almost weekly. He is one of our top contributors. And you can be too. We put a link in the comments at some point during the show. It'll be relatively soon. Click that link. It's super simple. Even Barry can do it. It takes you and puts you in a FaceTime chat type thing with us, and then we can talk face to face with you. If you're not comfortable with that, the comments are just fine too. But we want to talk about what you guys want to talk about. Ryan, what are the updates since the last episode on the Deshaun Watson case? Because it's my understanding the disciplinary hearing has ended.
Yeah, so the biggest update was obviously that things have wrapped up. I think it was 2-3 days total. And now they're going to be, both sides are essentially going to submit what's called a brief to the disciplinary officer, Judge Robinson. So if you look at it as like a normal trial, both sides, they kind of file a brief and it goes to the judge. So the judge kind of has an idea of what things are, what the whole case is essentially. And she's going to make her determination roughly sometime after that. And I think they're due to have those in no later than the 11th of July. So we're hoping for some type of news or, update shortly after that. We'll see.
Yeah. And, one of the things that's being talked about a lot is the fact that Roger Goodell can go in and, if he doesn't like the punishment that's handed out, then he can escalate that. Now, with that being said, the more this process goes on, the more we learn about the ins and outs of these hearings, right? Like this is the first time that Sue Robinson has been presented with one of these situations, and they have to be careful about setting precedent under the way these things are handled now, and B, make sure that they make the right decision. Now, the NFL could say, hey, we don't like your suspension. It's too light. Let's say, and some believe that they're in a position where, or Watson's in a position where he gets no games, right? Because they said that the NFL's investigation found no evidence of threats or coercion or force or anything like that. That could mean a couple different things, but let's just say that leads them to say, hey, the guy's, he might be going and trying to get an extra service, but that doesn't mean that he did anything criminal, right? And he gets 0 games. Roger can still come in and Goodell can escalate that and give a harsher punishment. However, the whatever Sue Robinson decides can be used in a lawsuit against the NFL from Watson's camp, right? So all these things are very, very much so like intertwined, and everything has a cause and an effect. So I think the checks and balances with this new process are a little clearer now than they were when all this started happening, right? So, I think that some of these speculations that Roger could do this or Sue could do that, I don't know that they're going to fight with each other as much as maybe we initially thought. The more we dig into this process and how it works and the inner gears and, things like that, it's hard to tell. But Justin says it was in the upper 90s in Kentucky, hotter than a fresh turd. Hey, listen, it was, Barry, what did we hit? 90s, mid 90s up here? It was toasty. It was
talking
toasty.
degrees or beers?
Yes, the answer is yes. Justin says, I still look for it to be a year or more. Listen, there are, at this point, it's all speculation, right? Some people, and I think Ryan's in the camp that's like, it's going to be a smaller suspension. Some people are still thinking it's going to be a longer one. We don't know yet. They could absolutely give him 0 games. They could also absolutely suspend him indefinitely with no minimum. I mean, we still have a possibility at the far end of each side of the spectrum. Barry and I talk about this all the time. Barry texts me, every couple of days we talk about it, and it seems like the number goes up and down and up and down. I'm just ready. Norma says, in my opinion, if Goodell overrides Sue Robinson, it will go badly for him and the NFL. Badly. They may not win. I don't know if it'll harm their reputation. They want to make it look like they threw the book at him, or at least tried to. Regardless, I don't think that's a misleading statement. Like, it puts them in the best light from a PR perspective to make it look like they did everything they could to bury the guy, right? Because the only people that are going to be upset with a light punishment are the ones that are going to disagree with how they handled the situation, and if they quote unquote don't go hard enough. Ryan, thoughts? I know it looked like you were talking about, or you were getting ready to say something.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at it this way. If they don't impose a penalty, if she does not impose a penalty, if there's 0 games given, the NFL cannot overturn that. If she does not give a penalty, it cannot be overturned. If she does give at least 1 game, then the NFL can appeal it and they can overturn it. But that being said, I don't see it happening. I do not see them overturning whatever decision that she comes up with. This is what they bargained for. This is what the NFL and the NFL Players Association wanted. They wanted an independent arbitrator. They wanted somebody who could take the pressure and the heat for whatever disciplinary actions need to be handed down. And I just do not see the NFL overruling a federal judge on her very first disciplinary action, as part of the new collective bargaining agreement. I just don't see it happening. I just think it's stupid all the way around. It just doesn't make sense to me. But I think the big thing that really did happen was we had the updates or the leaks, you want to say, come from Florio at Pro Football Talk, that during the disciplinary hearing there was the no threat, the no coercion, those updates, those leaks that came out. And then he really started talking about that there might not be any discipline at all, which was like a complete 180 from where he was earlier in this process, right? Florio was very adamant about putting the negative out there and was very, he was not shy about really criticizing Deshaun and the process, right? So to me, it was very telling, if you read the tea leaves, that he took a complete 180. He was given something that we weren't privy to, and he was doing what he could to get it out there. And then if you actually look closer, Josina Anderson had put out some tweets after his, right around the time that the disciplinary hearing ended, that were very similar to what he was saying. Don't be surprised if this happens. She was kind of alluding to that a little bit more tiptoey than what he was. But I just think those things, if you read the tea leaves and the process of the NFL and how things work, how they really play things out in the media, I'm going to anticipate a lower suspension than what I originally thought of. I just don't think it's going to be a year. I don't think people are going to, get what they want when they're clamming for a year, but it's going to be interesting for sure.
Do you think, Ryan, do you think there's any chance they come to an agreement with Watson sitting out last year? Like they count that toward the suspension, make him forfeit his $10 million. And
right.
We gave him 17 games last year and another 4 this year. So we suspended him 21 games.
Right. Yeah. I think it's very,
looks good on paper, sets precedent, but Watson's like, fuck it. I just signed a $230 million contract. Here's $10 million. I'm going to go play football.
Yep. I think it's very, very possible. I wouldn't still rule out some type of settlement between the NFL and Watson's side. As things get closer to the decision and one side kind of figures out or gets a hint of where that decision is going to lean towards, they have their ways. So I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that happen even closer to the decision time.
Yeah.
But whatever happens, I anticipate that there's not going to be any appeals unless for some reason he gets like a 2-year suspension or something, which again, I do not think is possible. I think whatever comes out, it's probably going to be amicable on both sides and it'll be done with.
Skylar says, I see a maximum 8 games now with all the quote unquote leaks of being possibly no games. Norman says Florio is a hypocrite and two-faced, in my opinion. He is biased with certain things. Now, Florio has amassed one of the most influential platforms when it comes to football, short of maybe Rappaport and Schefter's Twitter accounts. Florio is just as plugged in as anybody else. He does tend to get political, though. He will use his platform to push political narratives. This doesn't seem to be something he's made political, though. I don't know that he's too unbiased. And listen, if you go on social media, people will cherry pick from both sides. Things that Florio have said, even going back to Ben Roethlisberger, the big thing was people were criticizing him because they thought that he was being too lenient on Roethlisberger, and that didn't match the way he was handling the Watson situation. You can go back and cherry pick those. You can go cherry pick it from the other side too. He was critical of Roethlisberger also. So we've seen Florio essentially treat Watson as somebody who should be punished, who did wrong. He's painted that picture, of course, and now he's painting a different picture. Realistically, like anybody else, he probably falls somewhere in the middle. But yeah, Florio pushes an agenda, but he is, when it comes to information, when he gives information, at least it's reputable and accurate, right? He's not going to put out false information because that doesn't do him any good. That doesn't help his credibility at all. I've never heard that idea before, and agree settlement is not an impossibility. I kind of think that the potential for a settlement is kind of water under the bridge at this point, right? We've already gone through the hearing. One of the sides has to feel like they've won this case, right? Essentially.
I don't know. I mean, it didn't seem like the NFL was very confident after, his leaks, and I will say that Florio, when it comes to this kind of stuff, he knows his stuff because he was a lawyer. That's what his background and when it comes to football, I'll criticize him. I say what I say, but when it comes to the law, he does know the law. He is a lawyer. So I thought it was very telling that he was dropping little tidbits like that, just, mainly because it's 180 degrees from what he was doing. And, that kind of tells you, if you're, a common sense type person, that he was given some information that he felt was very different than what he was given the first time around. So, it's going to be interesting. He's definitely plugged in, and like I said, he knows the law. I still think a settlement's a possibility, but I understand your outlook as far as they've went through the hearing and everything like that. But like I said, the only thing I could see happening is if one side gets some type of hint that it's going not their way, and they rush to the table or something. But at this point, I would say probably Deshaun Watson's camp feels fairly confident in where he's at, and based on everything that's come out. So we'll see.
It seems to me, and this is not a criminal trial, right? This isn't part of our justice system, but at the same time, a settlement now would feel like both sides presented their cases, they've presented their arguments, they've gone through the trial, and now the jury's deliberating. You don't strike a deal in between making your arguments and getting a verdict from the jury. To me, that's what it would feel like. I feel like both sides put their information out there, and hopefully we'll have an answer soon. Barry, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts after,
I think the NFL is scared. I mean, honestly, I think that they don't have any evidence. I don't think there's anything concrete. I think it's all just a bunch of accusations with nobody really has a way to prove anything. And if you can't prove anything, it's kind of hard to punish somebody for something that can't be proven. And common sense tells you 24 people, 26 people, 22 people, whatever it is, there has to be something, right? There has to be, or not. Maybe it was just some type of fetish that Watson had, where he whatever, and this attorney got the whiff of it, and now he's digging up people. How many more were there that gave Watson massages that this attorney could not get to step up? One out of every 3 people in this world is pretty damn shady, if you ask me. I don't know. But I think the NFL is scared. I think the NFL doesn't. I think because of language in the CBA, I don't think they have enough to. I don't think they have enough to come down on them. So I think they're trying to say, okay, what can we do here to save face? To say, like, we believe you in the Me Too movement, and we support these women, and we want to punish Deshaun Watson, but we don't want to punish Deshaun Watson enough where we absolutely lose our ass. It's
right. Well, that's why it's nice that it's not in their hands, right? They can say, "Oh, we wanted a year, but that's not what she gave." They could save face by saying they want this, they want that, or we were going to hammer them with this or that. But it ultimately comes down to the person that they've, essentially hired to do that. So there's ways for them to save face, and that's why they put things out and leaks happen. So it's going to be interesting. I said very, very early on in our partnership, Craig, when we had, I think, one of our very first episodes, I had said that, listen, the amount of people that are, putting accusations out against Deshaun, if you have common sense, you're probably saying, listen, this guy was probably hoping that some things were going to turn sexual. He may have made some comments or this, that, and the other, but we're never going to know for sure. We're never going to know if anything illegal took place. And it sounds like from this point, there's probably more evidence saying that nothing illegal actually happened versus something illegal happening. So
I bet you the other 30 was more than happy to participate. That's why they
right. And so it's probably not the first NFL athlete or any professional athlete that's had this type of encounter with somebody who's, associated with the team or not associated with the team. So, maybe he's a freak, maybe he has a fetish, but, like people have pointed out, you can't really, ban a guy from the NFL for having a fetish or sexual fantasies or whatnot. So we'll see.
It's going to be real crazy
right.
if they come down and really don't do anything to him. Then you're going to get all the Calvin Ridley jokes, because this guy's kicked out of the NFL for how long? And, for what? For betting on somebody when he wasn't even in the NFL. They went straight 2 rows on him. And, he gets a year suspension, and Deshaun Watson, through all of this, is going to walk away with nothing over sexual assault claims. I don't know what it's going to be nothing, but it's going to be very minimal compared to what Calvin Ridley's getting. Let's be honest.
Right.
Absolutely. We have multiple people down in the dog pen. I will get to everybody.
Go, baby.
One of my favorite human beings on the face of the earth. Always positive. Jay, how you doing, Jay?
I didn't think you were going to pick me.
Oh, what's up, Jay? How are you, buddy?
You were first come, first serve.
What's going on, guys?
That guy.
No, I didn't know I was going to be on with Barry, but I'll deal with
it. Jay is the co-host of the Voice of the Land podcast, also part of Team Big Play. And I have a few more down in the dog pen. So we're just going to kind of rotate through. Jay, we've been talking about Deshaun Watson, the developments over the past week. We were talking a little bit earlier today. I know you haven't been following too closely because it's been it's a lot to handle, right? But
a little bit.
Any thoughts on the way this has progressed this week from you? Any thoughts on the
Ryan
case in
took everything I wanted to say. I was like, well, he just knocked that out the park. He just said exactly how it's going to be.
Sorry, buddy.
No, it's cool. You're doing a great job at it. But yeah, I got to tell everyone, I don't have a true opinion on it. I just hope he gets what he deserves, I guess. I wasn't there. I'm not God. So to me, God, him, and those girls are the only ones that know what really happened. I just hope he gets what he deserves. If it's 0 games, I hope he deserves that, and that's what he gets. If it's the whole season and that's what he deserves, then that's what he gets. But I'm not going to try to decide what he gets. And we're all just guessing at this point.
Yeah, it's 100% speculation. We have no idea. Unfortunately, this is the only thing we have to talk about when it comes to the Cleveland Browns right now. There is nothing going on. It is a desert out there when it comes to content. But all right.
I got the Guardians to talk about on our podcast. You guys are pretty much strictly Browns. They're keeping me entertained over there.
All right. Barry, I'm going to rotate Norman in here. What's that? I'll bring it back in. Don't worry.
Oh, he's gone.
Maybe we can get 5 up here. There is Norman. How's it going, Norman?
Norman, what's up, buddy?
Hey, partners. How y'all doing?
We missed you last week, Norman. Where were you?
You know what? I just started a new job. So I am now probationally working for the Department of Army security guards.
Nice. Congratulations,
sir.
Awesome. Congratulations.
So I'm trying to stick with it. If I can keep on to the job, I will continue to be guarding access on and off of Fort Huachuca here in Arizona.
You look like a big dude. I wouldn't bother you. Tell me no. I'd be like, okay, I'm out.
I guess it's relieving it, and I'm always smiling. But
Norman, are you guarding the entrance to Area 51? Is that really what you're doing? Are you flying to Vegas every day or Nevada?
No. That's New Mexico.
Of course he's not.
Yeah.
He wouldn't tell us if he was. I think
and
Norman
that's
knows
true.
if
That's the case. That's true.
Yes means no, and no means yes.
G14 classified information there you're asking.
That's right. If I
Norman,
were, I
I'll be
couldn't
happy
tell
to
you.
get your Norman, I'll be happy to get your opinion in just a second. I want to welcome Justin onto the show. Justin, thanks for coming on.
What's going on,
Justin,
guys?
what's up,
Hope
buddy?
everybody had a happy 4th.
Thank you.
Same
You
to
too,
you, man.
all of you.
Let's get Norman's opinion on this. Norman, give us just a quick overview of how you feel about how this past week has gone, and then we'll move over to Justin, get Justin's opinion. And then if Jay, Barry want to comment after that, we'll get those.
Okay, thank you. Trying to keep it as short as I can. I feel after everything that has been done from Busby to certain talking heads in the media to basically burn, bury, and cover over the landscape of Deshaun Watson. I've always thought 0 games. I've always said this. I hope I'm right. But the bottom line is, in the NFL, basically let that come out. In other words, like, we're trying to get him for a whole season, but we really got a weak case. If those grand juries, and I've seen some of those transcripts, if the grand juries did not have enough to charge him, this is more often in my mind is people climbed on board when they thought they had a chance to make money. Now, if somebody was offended by something that Deshaun said, like if it were you or I, then we probably would have got cursed out and said, I'll never work for you again. But in his case, because he has money, then let's take him to court. But I don't think that anybody that's accused of something is considered guilty and then they have to prove themselves innocent. I didn't grow up in no system like that. I didn't serve 30 years in the Army for a system like that. So I've always given them the benefit of the doubt, even though I do listen to women's claims, but it's context and circumstance for some of them, unless you have evidence. Eyewitness, some audio or video. If you don't have any of those or any physical evidence, then all you're doing is talking. But I hope they resolve this, although I don't think it's going to be by next week. I think it's going to be closer to training camp. Just my opinion on how she's probably going to handle this once they get the briefs to her, because they're not even coming until next week, the 11th or the 13th, somewhere in there. So she's going to probably take maybe a week or 2 weeks. I don't think she's going to come out real fast and then say one way or the other, because then people will say that she didn't really deliberate. So I think it's going to be a little bit on that. That's just my impression.
All right, Justin, your thoughts after this past week.
So I agree with Norman, innocent until proven guilty, but we're also looking at the court of public opinion. And with that, you have the female fan base that the NFL does not want to lose. So they're going to push hard for at least a year, I think, if not longer. As far as whether or not I personally think he should be out for that long, I really don't think so. Like Norman was saying, grand jury has said there's not enough evidence or there's nothing to pursue anything. So as far as I'm concerned, he's good then. So it just all depends on what the arbitrator decides.
All right. Ryan, Jay, Barry, any of you guys have any comments about any of that?
I mean, he's right. I mean, you are innocent until proven guilty. That's without a doubt, and it should be that way. But this whole situation is so incredibly complex. There's just this. There's this stigma about this situation. There's this stigma about this situation. There's this I know, it's this very small percentage of sexual assaults that actually ever get proven in court because there's little to no evidence by the time they usually report it. So that sucks. And so you got to be understanding of the woman's point of view from all this. But at the same time, Norman, you're being black, black males are constantly being accused of stuff in court and charged for stuff that they're not guilty of at all. And so there's that point of view. And this is what sucks about this. For us as being Browns fans, you're put in this position and it just sucks. We should be enjoying having a top 5 quarterback right now, not dealing with any of this.
I wish.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Like we signed Amari Cooper. We have Amari Cooper, and it's like it was just thrown in the background. Like, oh, you got Amari Cooper, but you got to deal with this.
You would
Like,
think
he's a
that-
phenomenal wide receiver, and we never even got to enjoy it.
Go ahead,
you would
Barry.
think that 24 women, one of them would have like some audio or something, right?
Well, I don't know if you're allowed to in those in that position to do that stuff. To be honest, but
A lot of things.
you make a point. I don't know. Like, I'm just saying, like, how it is for everybody. Like, I try to respect every person's position on this. Is
Yeah, you're
my
right.
point.
And I agree with you. I'm just, it's like I just keep throwing shit at the wall trying to make sense of it. It's, at one point in time, you think 24 women, can't all 24 be lying. And then on the other hand, you're thinking, well, it's kind of shady. I'll tell you what, they're vulgar shit. That Busby or whatever his name is, man, he's an asshole.
Congratulations, Matt.
He's relentless.
Yeah, Monica here says Matt Wilson had a baby girl on the 4th of July. Congratulations, Matt and Monica. Matt is one of our contributors on dawgstable.com, writes some outstanding articles. He's been on the show. He was part of our live draft special at the Brick House. And
Is that the first
kid? I don't think so. Monica, is that the first one? We'll find out. But what a day. What a birthday.
By the way, that's awesome.
What? Congratulations.
I'll invite her to that party every year.
Right.
Right.
No kidding.
Yeah.
You know there's going to be
But,
cake and ice cream and a ton of other stuff.
You get cake, ice cream, and fireworks.
Somebody in the family is going to try to blow off their face. Yeah.
Wow. Hey, I want to say something.
Yeah.
In regards to the situation with Deshaun, okay, as far as the what if of if Sue Robbins gives let's say a lesser suspension, but she still gives him one. Let's say because I was saying no more than 4 games, either by her saying 4 games if she does suspend him for something, or 6 games, and then they try to negotiate it down to 4. But Goodell, for whatever reason, says he wants more. Now, the reason why I made that comment earlier about they would live to regret it is because the NFLPA will take them to court. And then they're going to ask for things like, well, you're punishing Watson, so let's see what you had on Kraft, and then you can explain in front of a judge and or jury why you didn't do anything to him, but you're going to take this here quarterback who just happens to be black and you want to slam him for a year or indefinite.
Norman, can I butt in with just a question real quick? Because I want to ask you a question. I mean, this isn't a confrontational question, but I'm a little, I get the Daniel Snyder stuff, and John Gruden did some nasty things. Robert Kraft is also clearly has pervasive tendencies, right? But how does Watson's situation parallel Kraft's when Kraft supposedly got a consensual happy ending when there was no accusation of any foul play? It was nothing more than a consensual happy ending. How does Watson's case parallel to Robert Kraft's? What are the similarities there?
Well, actually, here are the differences, because the similarity is sex. Okay. The difference is no proof against Watson, but video evidence of Kraft engaging in sexual activity, paid or otherwise, with someone who is being trafficked. That's the key part. So, he broke the law and he was charged. However, being the status he is and the money that he has, and they swept that under the rug. But the NFL could have done something. And the NFL, ha ha, he he, boys will be boys, heard that before, just went on ahead and moved on with it. The thing with Daniel Snyder, which is also proof because the organization has owned up to it, and then the same thing that was going on in like Dallas, you got these guys peep showing, videotaping, whatever, women undressing and stuff like that, and other things connected with that. It is just like, it's like the haves and the have-nots, or the middle class and the upper class, or whatever. They are in the CBA. It states that owners, have to be of high character, morals, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's in the CBA. So if you're gonna say that for them and then don't do anything, how in the world can you decide we're gonna punish this guy because someone said he did something wrong? We don't have video. We don't have physical evidence. We don't have a witness. We don't have any audio. Go for it.
What you're
Barry
hitting
raised-
on,
oh,
Barry
Josina
said
Anderson was
wrong.
talking about and calling them pressure points in this situation.
Say that again, Jay. Sorry.
Josina Anderson was on, I think it was ESPN Cleveland, and she was hinting towards what he's talking about right now and mentioning them as like pressure points from the NFLPA going to put onto the situation if needed.
Okay. See, for me, I believe that Kraft should have been punished. I believe Snyder should be punished. I believe Gruden should be punished. I believe that all of these guys did something very wrong. I guess I'm just not seeing the correlation between the Watson case and the Kraft case as clearly as some people are. I think that number one, as Norman said, there is actual evidence of Kraft committing a crime. Number two, the girls were being trafficked. Whether or not he knew they were being trafficked, I have no idea. Number three, nobody challenged whether or not it was consensual. That's where I see the difference. So with Watson, again, innocent until proven guilty, but I think the allegations are far more severe. And I base that more on the information that's been presented to me rather than the color of somebody's skin. However, I can appreciate how some folks, and Norman, you included, can see that there are some parallels. I just can't quite connect the dots in the same way. Justin, Ryan, do you have any comment on that?
Well, I think with Watson, he's more of a public figure, more of a public face. I mean, yes, Kraft is all over it, especially in the New England states, but really in like San Francisco and Seattle, who really cares or who really pays attention to Robert Kraft? Whereas Watson, a quarterback, a highly paid quarterback in the NFL, he is very much out in front of everybody. So they want to at least seem to where they've put forth an effort to try and punish. Let the Players Association do their thing, but at the end of the day, the NFL wants to seem like they are doing something to punish him.
I think really where they come together is in the CBA. It says that the owners are held to a higher standard than the players. So the way the NFL Players Association looks at it is the owners are the employer, the players are the employees, right? So they're saying if you can't punish your owners or your employers for things that they're doing that are going against the CBA, then how can you punish the employee for the same thing? And I know that they're
Ryan,
not the exact same
CBA
situation.
says, if I'm correct, that they're supposed to be held to a higher standard.
Right,
A
correct.
That's
higher
correct.
standard. But Ryan, so you're saying it's not an apples to apples situation. It's just a principle of the matter. He should have been punished.
Right.
It's not an apples to apples thing.
Right. I mean, they're looking at
Or
it
do you
through
think
the
it
eyes
is
of the
apples to
CBA. No, I don't think it's apples to apples, but I do see it as in a similarity, as in through the eyes of the CBA, you have an employer and an employee. And just like any other human resources type situation, you would expect that the employer be held to the higher standard than the employee. So they're just trying to argue for fairness in the process. And they're saying, listen, if you guys aren't being fair here and you're choosing to let this slide, how can you hammer somebody else here, especially in the first thing that's come up since the new CBA has been, agreed to? So it's sticky. I mean, both sides are going to use their arguments, and the Players Association is going to bring in their lawyers and say, listen, this is what we want, but they're looking at, protecting the employee versus the employer. So I guess they argue who is the oversight for the employer, right? Who is going to hold them to the standard or hold them responsible when they do something that's shady or against the law. So, I mean, they have an argument there, I think, but it's definitely not apples to apples. But it's tough, man.
There
if
is an
you're the
argument there,
NFLPA
but if you look at, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there is an argument there, but if you look at random Joe Schmo on the street goes and gets his knob slobbed by Betty Sue down the street, and the CEO of the company goes and does the same, who's going to get the bigger punishment? Joe Schmo.
Right.
But does that make it right?
No,
No, but
it's always hard to compare the NFL to like regular jobs. I always say, but
That's true.
like they agreed to an agreement that this settlement or whatever, that they're supposed to be held to a higher standard than even them. And that's what, 3 times in a row that they've done wrong, no punishment whatsoever happened. And then a player happens to do something said wrong, he gets a whole year. It's like, well, you're not agreeing to what we agreed upon in this. And they, like, that would be a massive lawsuit that I don't think they really want to deal with, to be honest with you.
No.
All right, and we have Steven Giles in the room. I'm not sure, Ryan, if you got to Steven yet. I had some internet issues, but I'm back. Steven, how you doing?
Not too good, fellas. I've been dealing with the death of my 2 cousins this last month. They was just murdered. But
I'm sorry, man.
It is
terrible.
Condolences.
I've been pretty tore up this month, to say the least. But I do want to talk some football. It makes me feel better. I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys my take on it. I felt like at the end of the day, if the decision had already came back from Robinson, it would have been much more in the NFL's favor. The fact that they're taking their time to go through it is in our favor. I do want to go ahead and say this. I understand. I keep hearing this. I don't. I mean, if he was given 0 games, Goodell would definitely appeal that, and if he has no point to appeal it, he would still fight it. Goodell is going to be the last word on this. There's no way around it. I think truthfully what's going on is they are working on a settlement, something they can agree on. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like a combination of like where he has to pay back last year's salary. And at that case, they're going to go ahead and count last year somewhat as a suspension. And at that point, they'll give him a few games this year. I don't know how they're going to do it. Obviously, the NFL is definitely trying to save face. But at the end of the day, appealing it is just a lose-lose for both people. NFL doesn't want that. The Browns don't want it. They don't, because, they don't want him to be suspended indefinitely. And at that point, what I'm saying, when they push back, it could just get pushed back like that. It can. What I'm saying, I've read the CBA agreement. It's very tricky language, very tricky language. But there's not a lot that really speaks on it. That's why the situation is I'm president. I can't give you a speculation. I've always been saying 4 to 6 games from the jump. But I do think really what's going on right now is a settlement. And I know that they spoke about a settlement already, but the reason I think they didn't do it already is so the NFL is saving face. I think that's the idea. Is if they are just settled already, people would be upset with that. They'd be like, "Oh, they're not going to do it." I think they want to go through Robinson. I understand, everything looks like it's in the favor of Watson, but at the end of the day, let's not forget, Goodell's a power freak. He's kind of always has been. He's going to want his name on this because at the end of the day, it's not what he does that matters. It's what people think of him. And that's kind of how he's always has been. I do want to, and that's kind of where I'm going to leave it. I want to say thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Craig. Ryan, I like the hat. I got one too. I usually am wearing it, but unfortunately at the moment I don't. I want to say I apologize about my. I lost my phone. I'm trying to get into all my stuff. Yeah, this has been a bad month. Worst month of my life. But I do want to apologize about my inactivity. I want to thank you guys for getting me on here, and I do think though, relatively soon, like July 25th, I was told it could be as late as that. I don't think it's going to push that late. I think it will be one more decision before training camp. But I don't see a situation where this Watson gets skate free, and I don't see a situation where the NFL is happy with the punishment. I think at this point they have to eat this up. The NFL has to work the CBA a little better. I think at this point, the one thing's for sure, there will be amendments to the CBA agreement after this situation.
Oops. Did we
Oh,
lose him?
lost him.
I think
I was gonna say, I
we,
like how we
lost
all
Steven.
turned our head like we can
I'm
hear
not-
better.
Yeah, so I
He
was
was
trying to
going
do
in and
it.
out.
Yeah, he was going in
I'm
and
not
out.
sure what happened.
I will say,
Yeah,
I'll
Steven,
just
if
step
you're
in.
watching, appreciate you joining the show.
Yeah, thanks, Steven. I just want to say
Thank
you.
that for sure, he is a little just misguided in the fact that he's stating that if he's given no punishment, that Roger's going to overrule that.
He can't.
He can't. He cannot do that. So just for the people that are watching at home, if Watson is given 0 games from Judge Robinson, he is not able to appeal that.
It's she says found guilty and then time served for last year not playing.
Right.
And then he'd have to send her in
But
her
if
his
they're correct.
salary. But if she says he's not found of anything,
Yes.
then
If
yeah,
there's
they
no
can't
punishment handed down, then he cannot.
There
overrule
has
that.
to be something to escalate, is what you're saying. There is no way for
Yes.
Goodell to challenge unless, whether it's retroactive or moving forward, there is some sort of punishment.
Correct.
Who is paying her salary though? Is that the NFL or is that?
I'm sure it's the NFL. Or
We
it
understand,
could be a
Steven. Thank
combination
you.
of the NFL and the NFLPA, since they both agreed to have her. But the thing is, though, by the CBA, her position as an arbiter being neutral, it would just be a bad look on Goodell to try to override her in some way in her decision. And the thing I'm thinking,
But I
I
mean,
kind of agree with
that
what I
dude's
heard.
done a lot of things that made him bad look, and he just did them anyway. So we can't
I
like.
agree, but what I'm
Yeah.
saying is, as far as this bad look goes back to my statement on the NFLPA, how much more? Because right now, I think things are really leaning toward them and Watson in this situation because of the fact that because they are looking at facts and not Lifetime movie scripts as far as what was said or whatever. She's, she can look at this and say, okay, yeah, that sounds really bad. But when I read your deposition in the grand jury, you said this, or you didn't say what you said in your deposition when you were talking in front of the grand jury. And see, I kind of read over those transcripts. I'm really going to be surprised if he gets a heavy suspension. And in fact, I think the Browns would prefer, as crazy as this sounds, if he were to be suspended the whole season as opposed to a portion of the season. Because then they could, if he's suspended for the whole season, they could just say, okay, well, he gets to push his contract, his stay with the Browns starting 2023 as opposed to 2022. Because bottom line, Deshaun Watson is going to be the quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. That's a fact. From everything they've done to get him, he's going to be the quarterback. So that's not in doubt.
They're pot committed right now.
Well, yeah, they're committed financially and basically just for trading for him, and then saying that they believe him. They're committed. But I really don't believe anybody saying that they did not look into what was going on. Because how much money that they're putting forth toward him, they had to been digging everywhere. And the fact that they structured this contract the way they did possibly was for this situation. And, talking to him saying, hey, look, even though we believe you and we got this information right here in front of us and we're looking at it with you and we see it this way, the public look on these allegations may cause you to lose a major portion or maybe even all of the season. So how about if we structure your contract this way? You know what I'm saying? And he probably was like, yeah, you're right. But I'm just really I just really get upset when I hear people talking about the situation and they say like they only say like, well, I read the depositions. I'm talking about Rich Eisen. He said, I really looked at these depositions, and if what they said happened in those depositions, oh, he should be banned for life. And I'm sitting there going, but you didn't read the transcripts from the grand jury. It's like they forgot the grand juries happened. You know what I'm saying? I don't even hear people talking about it no more. So whether it's an agenda for ratings or just them having an opinion on it based on whatever, and they just running with it and they not letting go. Because I've been trying to look at this from both sides. I've had women in my life and in my family who've been sexually assaulted. So this is not a joke for me. While I was in the Army, I was a sexual assault instructor. I taught EEO. I taught sexual assault and what to do and how to report it and sexual harassment. So these things are not trivial for me. But I also know how easy it is for someone, male, female, whatever, somebody accuse them of something, and from that point on, they're trash. They're blackballed without any evidence. It's just somebody said it. And that's the way corporations write their rules and push it out from HR, because they're trying to avoid getting sued. So they don't want to be seen as backing anybody that has an accusation like that. So they're ready to throw them under the bus the minute that comes out, whether it's true or not. And it's unfortunate because we need to have a balance. And maybe this case will help form some kind of balance. But I don't know.
There he is.
Jay, what are your thoughts? Like you had something.
He hit on something. There's nothing worse in the world than being accused of something you've never done. I'm not going to get into the story, and I'll tell you guys off air one day, but I was legitly framed for robbing my own friend's house and solved my own crime because the detectives couldn't do it, and literally had to prove my own innocence. And it is the worst. It is the worst feeling in the freaking world, dude. So yeah, I agree with you there. But hey, there's other fun news out there too about the Browns. You know, we don't have to talk about this all day. There's the possibility of the Baker Mayfield Metcalf trade that people are floating out. That's complete crap, but I wish would happen
all day. All day. I'll do that in my sleep. So give me the checks. I'll sign them right now.
I saw that. I'm like, why would they do that? Why would they do that?
That's just a rumor, and
I know.
To be honest with you, that was those are just ideas that certain people have put forth. Because I remember I was watching another podcast, and one of the questions that came in were like, what possible trade ideas would you have for Baker Mayfield? And that was one that was floated. It's floated outside in the media, and it's been floating around amongst Browns fans. But I don't see that happening.
No, it'd be awesome.
And then think about it. DK is going to be looking for a hefty contract next year. So that's something to consider if they were to even attempt to trade for him. They got to be ready to pay this dude too. And I'm pretty sure they want to pay Cooper, maybe for the next 3 years, because I think we only got him for this year, right?
No,
because they took him on Dallas's contract. Is it? Just
no, we extended him.
Yeah, we extended him.
Jay started to shake his head. Yeah, and I was like, yeah. I
was like, wait, no. We got him for a while.
No. Okay, we gave him like $100 million, right?
Yes, we did extend him.
$20 million a year.
That, but thank God. Yeah, thank God. Okay, all right.
Well, all right. So I'm not.
What would you give up to get DK and package with Baker? Let's say. What would you have? What do you think they would have to give up?
Besides Baker?
Yeah,
I would say they would have to eat at least 75% of Baker's salary, number one, and either they would be looking for a player.
What about Nick Chubb?
Oh,
my friend was at me at work today. I was like, "How dare you?" First off, but damn, he made me think about it too. I'm like, I love Nick Chubb, but DK Metcalf's a receiver, and they last longer.
No.
All right.
I would think about this though. I
just want to hear you guys' opinions on it. That's honestly.
I would consider if they had to give up a player, much as I don't want to lose this kid because he's been through so much with us, but Greedy Williams.
Yeah, I wouldn't lose sleep over that.
Because of the fact that he's been coming back from his shoulder injury. Last year he played well. Better than probably people thought he could play. And the fact that even though you can never have too many good corners on your team, We do have other players, especially they drafted a new kid. They probably want to see how he plays out. If they had to trade a player, that would be the one that I would say, because you can talk about him, a lot of positives about him. He plays hurt, he plays well, covers deep. He'd be great for the defense because Seattle is going to need some help on that side of the ball, especially in the secondary. So that would be my one. But I would rather just eat most of Baker's salary and trade a draft pick and then say, bring us DK. That would be what I try.
You send greedy. You eat all of Baker's salary, and you send him a couple second or thirds over the next few years. I would do that 100% because, we loved the idea of OBJ and Jarvis Landry, but let's be honest, that's not what we thought it was. I definitely have a lot more appreciation for the Landry side of things. I love Jarvis Landry. OBJ was exciting, but it just didn't pan out. I soured on that over some time, but let's speculate here because that trade's been floating around. And if you guys read dawgstable.com, we've been not posting as many articles today. That is why a lot of this stuff is clickbait, right? We joke around that heavy on Browns is heavy on bullshit, right? We are balancing bringing you as much content as possible, right? So for it to be worthwhile for us to publish content, we have 12 to 15 contributors. The goal is to put out 2 to 3 articles a day. If there is nothing to write about, we don't publish clickbait. So hopefully you guys can appreciate that. But there was a report that came out today that the Seahawks have never actually been all that interested in Baker. And I believe that came from Rappaport via the Pat McAfee show. Other reports have said that there is a third team in the Baker Mayfield sweepstakes. Let's speculate. Who do you guys think that third team is? Ryan?
Detroit.
Jay?
Nailed it.
Norman?
Detroit. I was going to say the same thing.
Yep.
I have a dark horse. Justin?
Tennessee.
Tennessee. Interesting. Tennessee's
I'm going to try to
interesting.
guess a dark horse. I'm trying to think of your dark horse. Who would it be?
Who would it be? I like this.
I think I have an idea.
Guess. Ryan probably knows. I've talked about this. Norman?
I'm thinking. I like Detroit, by the way. That's high in my mind. But the other place, believe it or not, would be New York.
Yeah.
The Giants.
Yes, that is my dark horse, the New York Giants. They looked at the Baker Mayfield situation and Daniel Jones and said, we are not touching your 5th-year option because we don't know what we're going to do next year. Baker Mayfield would be up and down like a no-brainer improvement over Daniel Jones. They've got Tyrod Taylor behind Daniel Jones. Baker Mayfield would make a lot of sense in New York. The fan base would eat him alive. However, he's got the attitude, I think, to be able to handle that. So it's I think that's a solid dark horse. And they're all in on Daniel Jones this year if they don't make a move. But I think Baker would be an intriguing upgrade for them.
Who's Atlanta's quarterback this year?
Marcus Mariota. And if you ask Brown's Twitter, he is too big.
They might be trading for Baker mid-season, dude, or like
Listen, I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say that it's probably not going to be either Seattle or Carolina that ends up trading for him. It's probably going to be some team that we haven't even really discussed that's going to come out of the woodwork and pick him up. It just seems like that's how Andrew Berry works, right? He doesn't really negotiate in the media. He doesn't let things slip. So I would not be shocked if he's having negotiations with some team that nobody's even mentioned yet that's going to pop up and we're going to be like, where did that come from?
So
watch what Arizona does with what's his name there at quarterback too, because I think they're still disgruntled, aren't they?
Minnesota?
No, Arizona.
Arizona. That's what I was going to bring up. That's my super dark horse if you press me, because here's what. So on my other podcast, Ginger's Talk Football, we made way too early starting quarterback predictions for 32 teams. Kyler Murray and Arizona have still not reconciled from my understanding. I firmly believe, and I predicted that Kyler Murray could be moved before this season. Now, this is a little outlandish. You can make fun of me. I don't give a fuck. Whatever. But I would not be surprised if Kyler Murray is starting for the Carolina Panthers come September, and Arizona could be in the market for a quarterback. And Cliff Kingsbury.
Doesn't Baker Mayfield have a fractured relationship with Cliff Kingsbury, though?
They're fine now, I believe.
No.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so. And the thing is Baker could pick up the system in Arizona probably pretty quickly, because I believe Kingsbury's been using pretty much the system he brought in from college to the pros. So that's another one right there. So and I'm glad you said that, Craig, because I had almost forgot that I had thought about that earlier. But those are my 3 teams right there that he could really be going to, as opposed to the ones that's already been in the media. Right here in Arizona, Detroit, and I'm pretty sure Detroit might be saying, "Damn, we gotta find something better than what we got right now." And then New York, they're the big media market. If you bring in somebody in polarizing as Baker, that's something that would fill some seats, get a lot of talk going. I mean, and possibly help out in that market. So all 3 of those teams not being talked about by anywhere but on the Dawgs Table.
I think we talk about Detroit because Dorsey's over there, right? I don't think.
Yeah, Dorsey's over there, and they've got Goff, but Goff took the Rams to the Super Bowl, but he couldn't get them over the edge. Rich here agrees with you, Ryan. He's saying that Cliff and Baker have a fractured relationship. Here's the other team that's been brought up by national media that might make some sense, and I think that Baker would be stupid not to play ball with if he had the opportunity.
Tampa Bay.
At the end of the day, he can throw up in a fit. Any of these guys can. Tampa Bay. Sit behind Tom Brady. Maybe get a ring in the process. Be the heir apparent down there. That would be a blessing of an opportunity for him.
Who's the dark horse? Any team. Injuries happen. You need a quarterback, dude. An injury can change the situation dramatically. And believe it or not, like everyone's like, we need to get rid of Baker so we can move on. The longer they hold on to Baker, the more valuable Baker becomes to other teams. Because I said, someone's going to get hurt. Someone's a contender, has a good roster. Be like, dude, we need to bring someone in. And they'd be like, screw it, take our late first round pick. And we'll be like, now we regroup our first round pick. I mean, that's highly unlikely, but it's possible.
I believe that can happen, and I've said before, despite everybody's angst, those that hate Baker or whatever, talking about let's get him out of here. I don't care. Take a 7th-round pick, just cut him, whatever. Baker doesn't have to do that. His salary is basically paid. It's not impacting the remainder of the salary cap. He can afford to hold him to the very last game of the season, week 17, before they just say, okay, babe, thanks a lot. See you later. Good luck. So they hold on to him because somebody's going to need a quarterback. Somebody at some point.
My pet peeve, respectfully, Ryan, you might be one of these guys. My pet peeve, I don't know if you've said this, Ryan, or not. I hate seeing the Baker's a bottom 5 QB argument.
I've never said that.
Okay, just wanted to make sure. I couldn't remember. That wasn't an accusation. That was more of a question. But I hate seeing that argument, and that's the number one thing people bring up with the Brissett argument is Brissett's better than a bottom 5 QB. Whatever. I don't even argue with those people because I don't think that that's a respectable opinion. Sure, depending on what stat you cherry pick, he probably was bottom 5 in some category in 2021. If you go to 2020, you could argue he's a top 10 quarterback. Which
with
is something.
Baker Mayfield, you could take stat numbers and make him look like whatever position you really want, dude. You can make him look like a phenom quarterback, or you can make him look like a bum.
He's better than Tom Brady in his first 4 years. You can actually make a statistical argument for that. We know that that's not true, but you can make a statistical argument that Baker is better than Tom Brady through the first 4 years of his career. Rich, dark horse, Cleveland. That's a very, very, very dark horse. I'm still
The
in
only
it's
one I
never
don't
going to
see him
happen.
playing for, no matter what.
Who was it that was on today? It was on one of the shows. It was Amina Kimes that was talking about Baker would be best served to stay with Cleveland and play for Cleveland again.
Yeah, you
Like,
know,
where does this narrative come from?
It-
Like,
it
everybody's
doesn't
make
eviscerating
sense.
this guy.
It actually makes sense.
I
That's why they
disagree.
keep saying it. But it's just not going to happen.
does.
That's
He
the
knows
thing.
the system.
If Baker wanted, like, let's say Deshaun Watson's suspended for 6 to 8 games, and they're like, all right, dude, you want to bring your value up, play 8 games. We need you. I like Brissett, but I think healthy Baker's better than Brissett, and it makes sense. But these people, they have emotions in this situations. Baker, we know, is a very emotional person. He ain't coming back, and they don't want to stir the pot and mess up the locker room. They're moving on. Like, he ain't playing in the North. I'll tell you that much. It's the one place.
What do you do if he's 6-2, 7-1, 8-0? What do you do?
Exactly. You're causing yourself a problem.
Well,
You're causing yourself a problem. And then you know what? If he makes the playoffs, in the event that he stays on the field or Watson's suspension is lengthy, that's an even bigger problem. He makes it to an AFC Championship game or Super Bowl, that's an even bigger problem. He wins a Super Bowl, that is an unprecedented problem. And it's easy to say, well, we get $230 million.
Talk about split fan base. Holy moly.
My God.
What are you going to do? Franchise
Wait a
them
minute.
and trade them?
No. Wait.
That's part of the thing.
That's
though.
not
I
a
mean,
problem. If he were to play that well, that it benefits the Browns as well as Baker. Because now, in order to get Baker to play, they probably would have to promise, we won't franchise you. At the end of this year, you're going to be a free agent. But if he
I'm
plays
not trusting
well,
the Browns if I'm Baker at this point.
Yeah, no.
You're
Well,
ignoring the
I trust Barry.
factor of the
I
locker
trust
room,
Barry.
though.
I trust Barry.
You got to look at the locker room. That'll split a locker room up real fast.
I'm getting to that. The locker room is not as divisive as people are saying on the outside. There are people in that locker room that still have love and respect for Baker Mayfield. They realize that they have Deshaun Watson from now until whenever, okay? But they're cool. They're basically cool with both of them. So if he got to come back and play, he would help himself. He would help his image from everybody saying he's just mercurial, immature, arrogant, blah, 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 whatever. Because I've heard it all. But he would just kill all of that. If he came back and he won games, and where these people are talking about in the media is because they're just automatically assuming he's going to be suspended for a minimum the season. That's why they're talking about it. But if he were to play however long he needed to play, and he played well, say he actually was winning most of his games, or dare I say, let's say he was just undefeated. Let's just go there since we're dreaming about this, right? Let's say Deshaun Watson was suspended either 6 or 8 games. They couldn't move it down any further. Baker starts, and they win all these games. All right. Deshaun Watson comes back. Baker sits on the bench. Deshaun Watson carries it forward. They win. Baker's value skyrockets. If Baker were to be the whole season and actually take him to the Super Bowl and win, Baker's value skyrockets. Now,
that's what Cleveland franchise.
Now that's the thing is, even if the Browns can't take advantage of it, his value skyrockets. So he's still helping himself, bottom line. So that's why, without the emotions, and I'm glad you said that, bro, because there's a lot of emotions in this. If everybody were to just say, for the good of the team, for the good of you, this is what we're asking you to do. If you want an apology, I get to you. But in order for us to both benefit, we need you, you need us. If they could do that, if they had to, it'll work out.
If they had to, yeah. But the whole thing is, this whole situation, if it was a fifth, we'd all be drunk out right now. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of ifs and buts in that situation. Yeah. And I just don't think they would risk the locker room. All the quarterbacks they have the same skill set. They're dual threat quarterbacks now. And I think they're changing the play calling and a lot of the playbook to go to these guys and what they're good at. And I don't think it's going to fit what Baker was good at in the rollouts that he used to have to force into. But who knows?
Well, that would be the more.
Really have no idea.
Well, see, that would be the thing that would prevent them from doing it if they thought they couldn't adjust the playbook back. But I think they can. Those plays that they used to run with Baker when he was healthy and whatnot, they're still there. He may not be able to call plays for him, like doing a quarterback draw, for example, or option, right? But he could still do the other stuff. But the part about the locker room, I think everybody is kind of overestimating on the negative side of how that's going to work. I don't think there's any negativity in there as far as towards Baker, with the possible exception of Clowney, but I don't think that's there either. Because he said Baker, he said he likes Baker. Baker's my guy. The thing that he said when he first said about talking about Watson, he played with Watson before. They were really, close at the time. He said they still keep in touch and everything. So he said, if I have an opportunity to play with him, I would go wherever he would go. So since Cleveland bagged him, I guess he said, well, I made up my mind. Now I got all these reasons to play in Cleveland to include Deshaun Watson. So that's why he chose to come to Cleveland again. But I don't think it's going to be a headache in the locker room. It's just a matter of, do they want to switch the offense up to accommodate Baker's strengths or not? But if they feel like they could do it and they can go ahead and just sit down and be adults about it, they can make it happen. But if they don't, I have faith in Brissett, because he was 5-2 with a good coach squad on offense until injuries started affecting the line and the skill players. So I think the negative look on Brissett about him, okay, yes, he's a career backup, but when he had people around him, he had a line, they was winning. They look good with him. So I think he can do the same thing here. And Dobson, I don't care that he hasn't had that many games. This dude is a literal rocket science, and he can throw the ball. So, hey, all he needs is an opportunity if he has to. Hopefully he don't get it right now, because we want Watson out there, or we want Brissett to stay healthy. But either option is going to work. Either option.
Justin,
We'll
you
have
had
to
something to say. Go ahead, buddy.
Let's say Baker decides to come back for however long Watson is out. Baker does fantastic, wins all but one game or whatever. He's no longer considered immature. That creates a divide within the locker room, though. Baker's won this many games. Watson hasn't played in how long?
A year and a half at that point, or more.
Exactly.
But they've been around him in training camp, or at least they will be, and they've been around him all this offseason. So I don't think they're going to go back and say
Drew Bledsoe lost his job in that same exact situation right there.
But
because if you're winning, you're not. They can't pull a winning quarterback, dude.
Exactly.
If you're 7-1 or 8-0, you can't pull them.
But there's
now you're stuck with them.
Well, that situation is not the same, because in that case, there was no big contract that they had to move on from. Okay. And they didn't split the locker room because everybody in the locker room still stayed together. There was no division there. Now, he was hurt, because I don't blame him. He was starting and then he lost his job. That's every player feels that. They all admit to it. But there was no split in the locker room, and there wasn't a money issue as far as contract. In this case, they've already paid Watson, and because of the way they've done it, okay, they can't walk away from that. Besides, they don't want to. They want Watson there. But if Baker does well, it's going to really benefit Baker. It'll benefit the team, because the team will have wins behind him, even if it's a championship, which would be awesome.
Well,
then Baker can go off into the sun and say, I won a Super Bowl, But the bottom line is, go ahead.
With Baker and the locker room situation, and I'm a staunch Baker defender, it was worse than I think it was that we know about. And I talked to a couple people, I'm not going to say who, but they know some people in the locker room, I'll just put it that way. And two things that rubbed people the wrong way, and it was let's say when Watson took the whole team, he took the entire offense. And when Baker went on his retreat, he only took a select few. And a lot of people didn't like that. But they overlooked it, whatever. The thing that really bothered the team at the end of the year, that last game, he did not go to Cincinnati and play with them. And that burnt a lot of people. They were really ticked off about that.
But wasn't that a coach's decision, one he should have made earlier in the season, or was that Baker?
Baker.
100% Baker.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, at some point,
opted to get surgery after the game or whatever, just traveled with the team, but he didn't even want to travel with the team.
That was a home game, and
I'm not
he was
sure. I
there,
know
but
he
he was
wasn't
on the
there.
sidelines. Well, I watched him walk out of the locker room. Redleg and I went to that game with Barry. He was in street clothes on the sideline for the last game of the season against Cincinnati. But here's another takeaway though. And Jay, I'm not challenging what you said. Justin said two things. Number one, he said if Baker wins games, it's going to get rid of the immaturity label. One of the things that's weird about the Baker Mayfield situation is when we're losing, he's immature, he's a diva, he's hard to deal with, all this other stuff. When we're winning, those same exact qualities, the same personality, identical. He is who he is. It's moxie, it's confidence, it's this, it's that. I don't buy into the immature label. Now, yeah, you might be right. Inside the locker room, there may have been some fractures. There may have been some things that Baker may not have been the most popular guy. And you depend on your quarterback to be a leader. But, when you're looking at outside perspective, to me, it's all the same. It's just, are we winning or losing? Because the personality is the same regardless.
Yeah.
So it's, if we're losing, it reflects on them poorly. If we're winning, it reflects on them positively. It's really hard to distinguish. But
the Emily tweets was the other one I couldn't think of that was dividing that locker room. One of her tweets, and I don't find them, they don't bother me. Like, I didn't really care. I don't know that stuff bothered me.
I can't believe how fired up people get over Emily Mayfield and Carly Teller tweeting. I cannot wrap my head around why they're upset.
I don't get it. Yeah, I don't get it.
It was one tweet I'm referring to though, and I think she named players or something. I forget even what it said. Like, that's how much I really don't care about it. But I think she had to explain I wasn't trying to call out players or something, and it just supposedly it rubbed people the wrong way in that locker room. I saw that. I don't know for sure. I didn't have direct sources or anything like that. I'm not going to try to claim that. Just what I'm hearing.
I saw that tweet, and though I don't remember it verbatim, but she didn't name any specific player. She was talking. She was using general terms, and she was basically talking about how too much negative onus was being placed on her husband. Okay,
and something like
you know what that tells me? That tells me
something he would be better or something.
That tells me that if you can insinuate who it was from how generic the tweet was, then that wasn't her. That was us just connecting the dots, and we already know. You know what I mean? It's not like, to me, she was calling anybody out. If we can put it together and she didn't say it, then it's just confirming what we already know. What is the difference? I don't get it. I don't get the Emily Mayfield hate.
The difference, I would say, is pretty plain, in my opinion. If I say Craig Fountain is blah, 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 I just called you out. On the other hand, if I say, there are members in the dog table who tend to do blah, blah, blah. Now, who am I talking about? We don't know. Could be all of y'all. Could be one of y'all. Could be two. So you really don't know. So when we say putting the dots together, that's called speculation. And speculation without any hard evidence is still just speculation. But
I mean, I get what you're saying. If you're like, hey, somebody that goes on the Dawgs Table paid for hookers and cocaine, everybody knows that was Barry.
And what we're talking about, it sounds so childish, but dude, NFL players are very childish, and they're just very their egos, they get broken real fast and get offended real easy. And if they're like, well, what are you saying this? Are you talking about me? Are you talking about him? Who are you talking about? And they have to explain this stuff. It just starts these stupid little riffs. And that was one of the problems why I think they wanted to move on from him. I'm not for sure, but who knows?
But you know what? I can't say this. If you notice the people who have spoken up about Baker when asked, and people say, well, how come somebody hadn't said nothing without being prompted? Well, because they trying to want people to move on to something else to talk about. But when asked pointedly, Batonio, Teller, Chubb, actually the person who actually came out and spoke by himself without being prompted, I think, was Miles. But you got locker room leaders who still think favorably of Baker, and got love for him. So if there were anybody in the locker room that was, a little butthurt about something he said or did or didn't do, it would get squashed because you got leaders in that locker room that would make sure that happened.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that.
I mean,
I don't agree with it either, to be honest.
Because if you're looking at this way, Norman, these guys are professionals. They get PR training, right? None of these guys are going to come out unless they're maybe Marshawn Lynch, and they're going to come out and be like, "This dude is booty cheeks. Like, he is terrible. We cannot wait until this dude is out of here." Like, nobody's going to do
Where
that.
did that
Of course,
quote
they're going
come
to
from? I have to know. Did I miss something?
What?
Which one?
This dude is booty cheeks.
Oh no, I just said like,
Did
Marshawn
Marshawn
Lynch say that? No.
I thought he was paraphrasing.
No, I'm saying like, unless you're Marshawn Lynch, who will come out and tell you exactly what he feels in the moment, nobody's going to say, he sucks in the media. They're just not going to do it.
But do you feel that those players that I listed, the ones that were, when asked, how they felt about, Baker or whatever, you don't think that they would be straight, that they would just say something that's politically correct?
I think they're going to give you a coach's answer.
Because especially for Miles, because he did it more than once, and it wasn't about at an interview. He tweeted this stuff. So I really do feel that these guys are being genuine in what they say. Perception, I realize, can become reality. It's kind of unfortunate. Actually, it's just unfortunate. I'm not going to say it's unfortunate. It does happen. But I believe, because of what I heard from these guys, that a lot of this Baker's looked at downwardly by the entire locker room. I don't think that's true. There might be some players in there, like the ones that you said that but the fact that we don't know them speaking publicly, I think that's because they've been asked
one
not
player,
and by the players, not by the coaches.
I mean, let's say hypothetically that Jay takes over for Craig on the show. Somebody comes to you and says, "What did you think of the show with Craig? What do you think of the show with Jay?" You're going to be more positive to Jay. But when somebody comes to you and says, "Hey, which did you really like better? Did you like Craig or do you like Jay?" Specifically, what do you like better?
Well,
yeah, Norman,
honestly,
what do you say?
Okay,
It better be Craig.
I'm about to answer.
Or booty cheeks, as you would say.
I'm about to answer you. Now,
that dude is booty cheeks.
If it's me, I'm thinking like the players, you will say, "Well, I really like this about this one more than the other one, but I enjoyed them the way they both mesh together." Okay, now that's not being political. That's just kind of like characterizing how you like them. Now, if you said, "Well, if you just had to have one, who would it be?" Well, yeah, I would say Craig. It's my guy. But that's me. Somebody else might say, "Well, I really miss Jay because he was my guy." But that's not saying Craig is booty cheeks.
I don't know that ginger though. That's pretty hot.
But with Miles, I think when you heard that interview, he's done so many interviews, and especially what he went through with Mason Rudolph and stuff. That dude knows exactly what to say to a camera, and when you listen to him, just think of Kevin Stefanski talking and not him, and it's the exact same thing. He says nothing with saying a bunch of stuff.
But you know what? They could all have easily said no comment.
No, but then by saying no comment, you're saying something. Though.
Yeah.
But
if you're going, he's a good guy. I wish him the best of luck.
Again,
moving on to Deshaun Watson, they're just giving the most PC answer without stirring anything. And then when you got to play Baker one time down the road, he's not going to go back. Remember what you said? And he doesn't have any bulletin board material. 90% of what they say is just so they can't use it against in a football field. That's what it boils down to.
Well, you know what? The thing about it is
the equivalent of pleading the fifth.
Well, I believe that you can still be genuine and just say political or bulletin board material be damned, a la Juju Schuster. Okay, with the iconic. They got maybe one or two talented players on that team, but I mean, it's the Browns. The Browns is the Browns. Okay, we never gonna forget that. That's why he ain't in
Nameless gray
Pittsburgh no more.
faces.
Here, I'll
That's why
put
he
it
ain't in
this way.
Pittsburgh no more.
I got it for you. If I got a softball team and this guy, he goes out and he busts his ass and he's playing through injury, but he sucks, and someone asked me, what am I going to say? Am I going to say he sucks? I'm like, no, man, that guy's got heart. He plays through injury, and I hope him the best. I'm not going to say the dude sucks. I don't have to have a problem with him to know that he's not that good.
Right.
No, This is what I'm glad you brought that example, because I'm gonna go right back to what actually happened with Baker.
I just think they also know Deshaun's way better.
Oh well, that's true. But I'm gonna use your example and apply it to where it actually fits. Talking about Baker last year, Coach Stefanski, I always felt was pressured to put Baker out there week after week because he was afraid that if he sat him down like he should have, like he should have, and he put Keenum out there, they would have finished like 2 and whatever. Okay. He felt like he had to have him out there because the person who makes the final decision, despite what anybody else may say, it ain't the player. The coach don't say, well, the doctor say you can play, can you play? If he says, yeah, he can play, and he puts you out there and you suck, you're like, overthrowing, underthrowing, you're off. Okay. He can see this. Now he can look you straight in the eye and say, look, I know you feel like you can play, but that injury is messing up your throwing mechanics and you're doing more harm than good. So I am going to sit you. But I appreciate the fact that you want to go out there and play. But we got to win. You understand that. So I'm going to have you park on the bench and we're going to worry about your surgery later. So-and-so is going to go out there because at least he's healthy. That's what the coach should do. The coach didn't do that. So Baker was out there and he was playing good for a while until he actually got sacked. I think that was with the Texans game.
J.J. Watt destroyed his shoulder, finished it for good.
Whoever sacked him in that game, that really injured him because when he was hurt, before that, he was still making throws like in that loss to the Chargers. He was still throwing well. Okay, but when he got that sack, he sucked. And it wasn't because he's a bad player. It's that his injury affected him so much he could not make all the throws that he normally would make. But in his mind, he saw something he went ahead and throw, but then the throw didn't go like he wanted. So it was interceptions or he was throwing high and missing people and all this other stuff. But Coach Stefanski is on the sideline. He's supposed to be watching all these things, and definitely when your quarterback's on the field, definitely when he's hurt, he should have benched him. He should have went on here and put Keenum out there and then just let the season go where it may and get Baker into surgery sooner. But see, none of that happened. Now, I'm not going to get Machiavellian on y'all and say he was doing that on purpose because they was already thinking about moving on and want to have an excuse. I heard that one before. But the fact is, he should have been sacked. He wasn't. And saying that somebody is not playing the way we expect them to due to injury is not PC. It's just fact. But none of that happened. So now, it is what it is.
Well, since you won't get Machiavellian, Norman, I will. I mean, I'm still not convinced that Stefanski wanted Baker. That's why he played him. He let him go out there injured, so he would drop a hot turd.
He put him in the ocean without a life raft, and he wanted him to drown himself.
Exactly.
So he put him in the ocean without a life raft.
How many times have we seen a new coach come in and
he's bleeding in the water,
get a new quarterback?
Yeah, well, and for that matter, he wasn't Andrew Berry's guy either. Andrew Berry didn't draft Baker Mayfield. John Dorsey did. So, I mean, I don't think either one of them were convinced that he was going to be the long-term, quarterback there. So, I mean,
when it comes
I'm going to put a mandate out right now. If you are going to say anybody sucks on this show from this point moving forward, you have to say this dude is booty cheeks. Period.
Booty cheeks. All right.
All right, I'm gonna try to remember.
All right, I second that motion. That is a rule now.
Well, Craig's got a couple of
all right.
hairy
So with that, we have Yeah,
Go ahead,
so
Greg.
that is actually my cat Karen. She has earned that name. That is her real name. It is Karen. Normally it's Snacks, the fat cat that makes his way on the show, but she snuck into my office. Karen's a real bitch. Just saying. She'll bite you, she'll scratch you. The dog does a wide circle around the cat, you know. But yeah. Anyways, we're an hour and a half. This might be a record today outside of the live draft special. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to end the show here. Justin, Norman, Jay, thanks for joining the show. We appreciate
Thanks
you
for having us
guys.
on.
Great to see you guys.
Absolutely.
On the next
Same.
one.
Go Browns.
Go Browns,
Absolutely.
Go
Go
Browns.
Browns. All right. So that was Norman and Justin. And always positive Jay. You can find him on Twitter. He is part of the Voice of the Land podcast, also a Big Play show. And always positive Jay is always positive. That's why they call him always positive Jay. But we are the Dawgs Table, and we will continue this conversation next week. Tuesday at 8 p.m. We are brought to you by Remax Edge Realty, the JC Group, and Labatt Blue Light. And we are part of Team Big Play. You can find us anywhere Big Play is found. We are also, just so you know, if you missed the live show, Red Leg, I'm talking to you. I'm talking specifically to you, Red Leg. We are going to do a better job of uploading our episodes to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, the whole shebang, wherever you get your podcasts. So those will start going up more consistently. We apologize for that. That way you can listen at your leisure. You can always find our replays on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook also. So, Ryan, any parting words?
That dude is booty cheeks. Just remember it moving
That
forward.
dude
That's
is
all I
booty
gotta
cheeks.
say.
All right.
Browns.
This is the Dawgs Table. I'm your host, Craig Fountain, here with Ryan Angelo. And until next time, go Browns.
Go Browns.